She knocked 3 times, barely audible, like her hand was hoping no one would answer, like a part of her needed the door to stay closed. I glanced at the clock, 2:14 a.m. It had been exactly 7 days since Mia vanished. A full week of trekking through forest trails, chasing dead-end leads, and stapling rain-soaked flyers to telephone poles. Now she was here, standing at my doorstep, alone, alive. But something inside me knew immediately. This wasn't the same Mia. Her eyes were familiar, but the light behind them was gone. Her voice, when she spoke, carried a hollowness that hadn't been there before. She wore the same polka pajamas she disappeared in. Only now, they were torn, caked in dirt, and far too small for a girl who looked like she'd aged a decade in a single week. She didn't cry. She didn't fall into my arms. She just looked up at me and said softly, "Please don't tell Mom. Just help me." I stepped aside, let her in, and closed the door. But the world didn't click back into place. It shifted, slanted, like gravity had changed. What happened? I whispered. She sat on the edge of the couch like it belonged to someone else. Her hands were clenched into fists, resting on her knees. And then she spoke. What she said tore through me, splitting open something I didn't even realize could break. By the time her story ended, I was on the floor. My knees had buckled without warning, as if even they couldn't carry the weight of what she'd endured. My hand trembled as I reached for my phone. My voice, when I finally spoke to the dispatcher, didn't even sound like mine. It sounded like a ghost calling in a final favor. Mia hadn't run away. She'd been handed over, not to strangers, not to a trafficking ring. No, it was worse than that. Her mother's boyfriend, a weekend, in exchange for silence, as leverage, a form of punishment dressed as parenting. Angela, my sister, called it a lesson in obedience. Mia called it the pit. She told me about the cabin in broken pieces, about how it stank of mildew and scorched oil, about how he said she could go home if she'd just stop crying, about how Angela laughed on speakerphone while it all happened. I didn't ask if it had happened before. I didn't ask about the bruises in places no 10-year-old should ever have bruises. I didn't need to. I already knew. I could finally see it, the pattern, every awkward silence. Every time Mia flinched when Angela raised her voice. Every weekend I'd offered to take her and been turned down. I hadn't let myself believe it, because once you believe, you're responsible, and denial is easier when it's wrapped in a ribbon of family ties. But that illusion was dead now. My body felt frozen, but my face remained calm. I didn't show Mia what I was thinking. I wrapped her in a blanket, gave her a glass of water, and told her she was safe. A lie. She wasn't safe. Not yet. Not until the truth was louder than Angela's smile. I called the police and gave them the surface version. Mia showed up late. Shaken. Said little. Enough to file a report, but not the full story. Not yet. They sent an officer. Took statements. Asked questions they weren't equipped to hear the answers to. I played my part. Poured coffee. Smiled like a concerned aunt should. I deserved an Oscar. The moment they left, I got to work. Phone records. Bank statements. Angela's work hours. Every half-coherent timeline Mia whispered. I mapped it, checked it, matched it like forensic puzzle pieces. And then came the proof. Angela had booked that same cabin 5 separate times over the past 6 months. Her name, same location, same emergency contact. Him. His social media was public, full of happy photos. Him and Angela, a dog, a boat. One image had Mia in the corner. Barely noticeable, her smile stretched too thin, eyes ringed with exhaustion. I printed everything. Created a file thick enough to bruise. Evidence that didn't just whisper. It screamed. That evening, Angela posted a selfie. Sunset behind her. Caption, self-care is essential. I felt nothing, not even anger. And that terrified me more than fury ever could. I invited her over the next day. Told her Mia had come back, but wasn't ready to talk. She arrived in expensive perfume and a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. She didn't ask how Mia was. She asked if I had any wine. I handed her the folder. No words, just the weight of it. She opened it slowly, brows furrowing deeper with each turn of the page. Phone logs, receipts, screenshots, notes in Mia's own handwriting, childish, jagged, devastating. And finally, the medical report, a doctor's confirmation. She looked up at me, her face crumbling. Then she broke. The smile snapped first, then the tears poured out. "You don't understand," she whispered. "I do," I said, steady as stone. "And so do the police. I already gave them everything." Angela's mascara ran in black streaks, like ink bleeding from confession. "You're destroying my life," she hissed. "No," I said, rising to my feet. "You did that when you sold your daughter." She dropped to the floor, sobbing, begging, swearing she'd get help, blaming the man, saying she was manipulated, that she was trying to survive. I didn't move, didn't blink. I wanted her to see the monster in herself, reflected in my silence. "You'll never see her again," I said. That's when she snapped, screamed, hurled the folder across the room, bolted for the door. But it was too late. Officers were already waiting outside. I'd planned it that way. Let her walk right into her own ending, still believing she had control. That was the last lie she ever got to believe. Mia sleeps with the door open now. She still jumps at loud sounds sometimes. But she laughs, too. Real laughter, not the practice, empty kind her mother taught her. I listen from the hallway. Never enter unless she asks. Because trust isn't a switch. It's a rebuild. Angela was sentenced yesterday. 10 years minimum. No parole. She cried in court. I wasn't there. Didn't need to be. Some wars are won before the judge ever lifts the gavel. Today, Mia sat on the living room floor, drawing with crayons. She sketched a house with glowing windows. No screaming behind the walls. Just light. For the first time in weeks, I smiled. Not for her. For me. Because when you drag the monster into the daylight, shadows stop being scary, and you learn to cast your own.